Okay, so we're going to change this firing pin for the new one, and I want you to see here, it's a little different than a regular AR. Regular AR, you could pull the retaining pin out with your finger or billet tip. This one you actually have to punch out. So I've got here a 3/32 inch punch. Just going to give it a couple whacks. You just want to get it started. Noteworthy, it only goes one way. This side's obviously bigger, can't go out the other way, so you just punch it out the only way it'll go. You pull it out, give it a good whack, and the firing pin drops out with a spring. So here you can see this is the firing pin that they've been shipping with. So this is the pin that's been causing issues. It only has the one shoulder, and I'll put up a description of exactly what they say happens, but essentially this one shoulder can cause a primer to be ignited if while it's reciprocating. So what they've added is they've added this second shoulder. I would imagine it's this one as a over travel safety. So while the bolt is reciprocating, I guess this is going to prevent it from over traveling, causing the firing pin to pierce a primer. And essentially it's piercing a primer when the action's not in full battery, which is causing catastrophic failures to the bolts. So if you Google, you'll see some pictures of bolts being destroyed. So here you have it. So you see the difference between the two. To be honest, this one actually does feel a little bit heavier. Maybe I'll weigh them later. So just before I put this back together, I should mention this little retaining pin here holds the bolt in, and you'll see it has a hole. So just like an AR, you line it up such that the hole is going to be oriented that the firing pin can go through it. I'll just show you quickly. So what you're trying to achieve here is that when you put the firing pin in, it goes all the way in. Whereas if this is twisted the wrong way, you'll see that it won't go in. So if you're trying to put this in and it's stopping, it's just you have to orient this in such that it goes in. And then the idea is you compress this as you bang the retaining pin in, like so. And again, this goes in perfectly flush. You can't overdo it, and locks in. And your check will be that the firing pin obviously doesn't fall down. So, welcome back to the channel, hosers. We've got the BCL Siberian here. I'm just doing a follow-up to my first, I guess, unboxing and impressions. Just give you some updates and a few things I've noticed. As you can see from the thumbnail, I've got the new firing pin. This is the old firing pin. But BCL is mailing everybody the firing pin. It comes with a pin, the retaining pin, and a spring, which I've lost. Nevertheless, oh, here it is. I put the new spring in. So it comes with all three things that you need. I'll get into it a little bit later if you want to fast forward, or you might have already seen it. I don't know how I'm going to edit this thing, but you'll see what the purpose of the new pin does with the two shoulders versus one shoulder. So take a look at that. But as far as the rifle itself goes, just a few quick things. I'm not going to go into too much detail that wasn't already covered in the first one. First thing I just noticed for this video, the QD slots. For some reason, you've got one up here and one on this side. I never noticed that it's not further up. I'll show you on my other AR. I actually like running this side of the sling a little bit further up. And then you've got one here on this side of the stock only. These two holes I thought were QD slots, but they're actually not. They're the cup for the mag pull insert. So what that looks like is, you'll see on my AR, my ACS stock, you'll see this little cup right here is the QD cup that goes in, and you screw it in from the other side. So right out the box, and actually I had to add this, it's a M-Lock QD cup. So I mean the AR doesn't have it either, but that's where I would prefer to run the sling, is up here a little bit further towards the front. So right out the box, you will need that if you want to run it. I didn't notice that. I actually said in my first video that it's a QD slot, but it's not. Another thing, I was complaining about this thing being stiff, which it still obviously is. If you look how much pressure it takes. So still stiff, but a commenter made a great point in that you'd want it stiff rather than loose. So I mean, obviously if you're transporting it and you need to fold it, that could be a pain in the butt. But for me, I run it like this. I guess if people have friends who shoot, you know, if you're constantly changing the length of pull, I've never had that issue. Most of my life, I've never really had many friends, especially not friends that want to go shooting with me. So I mean, that's not going to affect me, but that might affect you. You know, if you're lucky enough to have friends, I guess. Next, as far as the magazine issue goes, in my first video, you see the very first insertion of a magazine. I put it in and it fails to feed. I force one in, it fires, it fails to feed the next round. I thought it was a magazine. I put a little lube, hasn't happened again. It's been perfect. The mag well is beveled, runs great, runs as it should. So no issues there. And then the other thing I was complaining about is the cheek weld that you get with this versus the height of the optic. So as you can see here, this is just an Aimpoint Pro. It's got the little spacer, and this is the perfect setup for me. I put my face down on the stock and I get a perfect cheek weld. You'll see me shooting. And this height works fine. So even if you were to run a scope, I think if you could just get slightly, I think I was running low rings and that was a huge mistake. So medium to high and you're good to go. Other than that, I showed you the new bolts. Not much else to report. Trigger still sucks, as I will show you again, just in case you didn't see. But this trigger is so you'll see how much loose slop is. You can even hear it. It's just kind of gritty. You get there, you pull, and then the reset is kind of slow to, it's just gritty all in all. Like, look, I just pulled it and I felt it like kind of stay back just because of the tension. So kind of gritty. Just to compare, I'll show you what a real trigger looks like. So this is a Stag running a Geisley 3-gun competitor. So no take up, no nothing. I didn't actually mean to set it off there, it just happened. So no, I'm putting a little, there's maybe a little, but I'm trying to be careful because it's just gonna break. And then the reset is very small, very smooth. Yeah, so very nice, but again, you know, that's a $300 Geisley versus a mil spec out of the box. So other than that, not much else to report. I'm not going to make this video too long, but I'll show you some accuracy I was getting. As far as ammo goes, I ran 66 grain MagTech and 55 grain, sorry, the MagTech was 5.56, 55 grain 223 Federal American Eagle. And I did a couple of match grade ammos. I was just shooting anywhere between 30 and 50. So this was just me kind of sighting it in. You'll see, I think I started here. I sighted it in a bit, and then here, and then here. So these are just groups of 3 or 4. So this is 4. I think these were 3. This was 3 and 3, and then whatever. Oh, this might actually be 3 here, and then 1, 2, 3. So I usually do my groups in 3s. You'll see I was shooting off a bench rest, but with the Aimpoint, so definitely wasn't going for pinpoint accuracy. And if you notice in the video, I am actually shooting a little bit faster than I should for accuracy testing. But once I felt I dialed it in a bit, I stretched it out, and this was at 50. So you'll see again, you know, not bad, 5 and then 5. So these 4 grouped nice, even though I was aiming here, and then I think that was a flyer, but you know, not bad. Just for comparison, I mean, I don't know how many MOAs that is, but what do you got there? You got, whatever. So, I mean, this for reference is like 12 inches. At least that's what I tell my wife. So accuracy, not bad. Again, I'm not going to be your authority for accuracy because you'll see I'm shooting fast. The aim point was a little... I had it set a little too high and it was kind of blooming, but I found that if I turned it a little lower, I couldn't really see it because my indoor range is kind of dark. So again, combination of me not being a very good shooter, me rushing, and not really taking the time to, you know, do everything properly and focus on my breathing. But otherwise, if you are on the fence about this, the gun runs great. I ran maybe, I don't know how many rounds, but with the old firing pin, not a single issue. I think the comments online and Reddit about, you know, bolts blowing up, I'm not going to say they're unfounded because it obviously happened, but from what I've been seeing is other YouTube videos and other people are enjoying them and no other such issues. And BCL has put out the fix. You just email them, and basically you email the lady, her name's Cassie, and she's sending you the firing pin the next day. Well, she's mailing it the next day. It takes a few days to get here, but all in all, it's been super reliable. It doesn't really jam on any ammo. I haven't had any jams that weren't the magazine related, and that's since gone. I squirted a bunch of lube in it, so I'm running it a little bit on the wetter side rather than just a thin film, and it's been working great. So let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see, but again, first things you should do immediately is get the new firing pin and install it.